Hey guys, it's Jane. It isn't Friday today, it's Saturday, but I was out all day yesterday. So it's Saturday and I'm doing a Friday reads. I finished 3 books in the past week. The first was The Other Woman, which is the first in the Jane Ryland Jake Brogan series. I chose this one because number 2 and number 3 in that series have won the Agatha Award over the last couple of years, and I just thought I should have a look at this series, and it made sense to start at number 1 because we weren't that far in. The first one, The Other Woman, which is one that I've read, was a solid effort. It's set in Boston. Jane Ryland is a reporter. She was previously in television news, but something happened which has sullied her reputation, and she lost her job, and now she's working in the newspaper business. The author, Hank Phillippi Ryan, is a journalist by trade. She's actually apparently quite a famous journalist. And you can tell the inside stuff about the news business was really well done in the book, so that was an enjoyable element of it. The other central character in the story is Jake Brogan, who is a homicide detective. And there's a bit of a connection between the two of them. They met previously and there was a bit of a romantic spark, but they've decided not to pursue this because they think that it professionally would be quite difficult, which leads to this whole moonlighting thing where they've got all this sexual tension going on, but they've decided they're not going there, and that part of it was not really to my taste. But the story itself is quite solid, but it wasn't compelling. If number 2, which won the Agatha, is a step up, then I may well be doing a full review. The second book that I finished was The Winter Queen by Boris Akunin, which is the first in the Erist Van Doren series. This one was a real winner, and I'm actually not going to talk about it. I'm going to do a full review for Mystery Monday, either this coming week if I get around to that because busy, or the week after. The third book that I finished this week was The Outskirts Secret by Rosemary Kirstein. This is the follow-up to The Steerswoman, which I really enjoyed. The Outskirts Secret is even better. So basically, it's a sort of fantasy, or is it? It's a fantasy world, or is it? And in this sort of world, there's innerlanders, of whom Rowan, who's one of our central characters, is an example. And innerlanders live in a kind of relatively normal, medieval-esque fantasy sort of world. She's a member of an order called the Steerswomen, and the Steerswomen are kind of knowledge seekers. And part of their shtick is that if you ask a steerswoman a question, she must answer you to the best of her knowledge. And the converse of that is if a steerswoman asks you a question, you must answer her. The steerswoman, Rowan, who is our central character, observes something and starts asking questions about it. This is right at the very beginning of the first book. And it turns out that asking questions about this relatively, seemingly innocuous thing is leading to all this drama. The wizards, for example, are down on her back and people are trying to kill her. She joins forces with Belle, who is one of the Outskirters, and the Outskirters are kind of the other kind of people in this world, and they generally live in a neighbouring part of the world rather than in the inner lands. So anyway, the second book, The Outskirts Secret, is basically set in the outskirts. So in the first one, they were in the inner lands, and Belle was kind of following Rowan around, learning about the inner lands. In the second one, The Outskirts Secret, Rowan is with Belle, and they're traveling through the outskirts, looking to the answers to some of these questions that, have arisen from something that happens right at the beginning of the first book. I just loved this book. I really, really loved it. All the stuff they were investigating was really interesting. The culture of the Outskirters were really interesting. But then there is this twist that I so completely did not see coming at about, I don't know, the 2/3 mark. And from there, it just went like so much better. This is, if you are a fantasy science fiction-y kind of reader, yeah, this is the bandwagon to be on. So at the moment, what I'm reading right now, Ordinary Grace by William Kent Kruger. Some of you might remember this is the one that won a whole bunch of major crime awards last year. I can really see why this is award-winning writing. The ominous thing that you learn about in the blurb of the book has not actually yet occurred at the 39% mark, but I feel it's just around the corner. And the build-up has been amazing. It's set in the late 60s in Minnesota. The narrator is looking back on his childhood and telling about these events that happened this one summer. And I have also just barely cracked the covers of this one, Magic Strikes. I haven't. It's very, very sad to say. I have not still received my copy of Seven Eves, which is kind of starting to get me down. But there are lots of books in the world, and eventually it will arrive. And so for everybody who's already read it, like, cheers. Just please don't tell me. Please don't tell me, because I don't want to know. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. Bye.